Welcome back to Court TV and our continuing coverage of the confirmation hearings for Amy Coney Barrett. With us now, a couple great experts. We're very lucky to have these two with us to dissect what we have watched so far today and yesterday. Neil Kinkopf is a law professor at Georgia State University, and Vinoo Varghese, criminal law attorney out of New York. Welcome to both of you. Thanks for joining us. I want to get your impressions. Neil, first off, taking into account yesterday and then so far today, we're at the lunch break, to remind people if you're just joining us, on the questioning portion of this confirmation process. Your thoughts on what we've seen so far and specifically how the nominee has held up.
So I used to work at the Justice Department, and my early job there was helping prepare nominees for their confirmation hearings. And we used to tell them to do two things. One, don't let the senators fluster you. And two, to the extent it's possible, avoid saying anything. And I think on both of those counts, Judge Barrett has been a wild success. She's avoided giving us any clue what she thinks about anything really that matters. And even when some of the questioning has been a little, a little unfavorable toward her, a little directed at her, she has handled it beautifully. She always says, "Thank you for that question, Senator, because it gives me an opportunity to clarify my views." And then she goes on to say something that doesn't actually clarify her views, which is just textbook for how a nominee is supposed to handle these situations.
Vinoo, your thoughts?
I think she's done fine. I mean, you got to wonder what Senator Durbin was thinking when he asked her the question about George Floyd, as if he didn't realize she had two black children and may have had a personal response to that. I think it really is something that's going to give a pause to these guys. And actually, hopefully what will come out of this is looking at her individually and seeing whether she's qualified. Forget the politics. This woman is very well qualified, highly qualified. I was on Fox News on Laura Ingram's show a couple years ago when her name was floated at the time when the seat that eventually went to Justice Kavanaugh. And Laura Ingraham was talking about her and being criticized because of her religious beliefs. And my issue, I did have an issue with her at the time, was that she didn't have any experience or just been appointed to the Seventh Circuit. And she's clearly now has record. She has numerous opinions. She's clearly qualified. And it's just, look at her individually, whether you like the fact that they're pushing this through when they said they wouldn't do something similar in 2016, I think at this point is irrelevant. The Democrats want to save face and be consistent, and then look at her and judge her individually, and I think she's going to be fine. In fact, on the issues that I'm most interested in, on criminal justice issues, she has a pretty good record coming out of the Seventh Circuit on ruling with defendants in criminal cases. And I think her and Justice Gorsuch can potentially be a very good team for criminal defendants' rights.
Neil, Vinoo's point sort of speaks to a different time that we're in now. Justice Ginsburg and Scalia were, they basically had overwhelming support from both sides of the aisle, despite their philosophies being on each side of the spectrum. And here, I'm sure we're going to get a vote down party lines. Is this a bit of a charade and has nothing to do with her qualifications as a potential justice and is more of just political grandstanding and when you look at it contextually in history?
Well, I think there's obviously a lot of political speech making going on. But I also think what we understand to be a judge's qualifications needs to be more than just how did they do in law school and how have they performed as a practicing lawyer, right? On that level, nobody doubts Judge Barrett's qualifications. But Judge Barrett is not, well, Judge Barrett doesn't come to us with no background. Right? I think here of the old Oliver Wendell Holmes quote that experience is the life of the law, not logic. And the presentation to this point by the Republican senators and by Judge Barrett herself has been as if. Nope,
Vinoo, we lost Neil there. Vinoo, let's Talk about one of the issues that has come up is same-sex marriage, and that was brought up today. Patrick Leahy, Senator, brought it up in a question. Let's listen to her response and how she was able to tiptoe through her answer.
As you know, same-sex marriage, for example, in Senator Feinstein mentioned this at the beginning, is legal, certainly legal in my state, has been for some time. Do you feel that should be a crime?
Same-sex marriage?
Yes.
Obergefell clearly says that there is a constitutional right to same-sex marriage.
And do you agree with that, stare decisis?
Well, Senator, for the reasons that I've already said, I'm not going to, as Justice Kagan put it, give a thumbs up or thumbs down to any particular precedent. It's precedent of the Supreme Court that gives same-sex couples the right to marry.
Vinoo, she brought up Justice Kagan. She, at one point, brought up Justice Ginsburg. To Neil's point earlier, she seems to really be doing a great job of answering with non-answers.
The senator asked the wrong question. The senator should have asked her, what did you think of your mentor's dissenting opinion in that case, where he blasted the decision to legalize same-sex marriage? And that's what they should have hammered her on. I mean, this is Justice Scalia is her mentor, the person she clerked for, the person that she says that his judicial philosophy is mine. If they were actually going to score some points, try to go after her on that. But in the end, she answered the questions correctly and said the right things as a candidate should do. I think, in terms of experience, she has some now. She didn't have it 2 years ago when I was on Laura Ingram's show and I questioned her experience. So I think the rest of this, I hope that it'll become more civil and they'll ask her some real questions and maybe we'll get some real answers.
Neil, she did answer the question about, are you just a female version of Justice Scalia? And she said, no, if I am confirmed, I will be Justice Barrett. And yeah, he was my mentor. Has she handled that well? And do you think that at the end of the day, given her record and what you were just talking about before we broke up there, her life experience, will she be basically a female Antonin Scalia?
I think she'll be similar to Justice Scalia, and I don't think she disagrees with that, but she won't be a carbon copy of or an extension of Justice Scalia. She will be her own justice, which is why I think it's important for us to get a better sense of who she is as a person. So that question that Senator Durbin asked her about George Floyd and her discussion of it in a very personal way about dealing with the George Floyd video with her children and processing it with her children, I think is something that's apt to lead her to very different outcomes in a narrow set of cases than Justice Scalia might have come to. And the point I was trying to make before I broke up is that experience is the life of the law, not logic. She doesn't just open a history book and find an answer, right? Those don't exist. So she says her method is originalism, but there's a lot of art and a lot of judgment involved in determining what history actually teaches us. And I think a lot of our own life experience goes into how we read the lessons of history. And so the line she's been giving, that she will just mechanically apply the law as it's written, is quite simply misleading. That's not what judges do. That's not possible. History isn't a book that we can open and find the answer. And so her life experience is something that's very much relevant. And to the extent it differs from Justice Scalia's, and it does quite significantly, then the outcomes she arrives at are apt to be different than the ones he would have arrived at would be.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said. It is absolutely an art on many levels along with the science. Neil Kinkopf, Georgia State University law professor, thank you so much for sticking with us today throughout the morning and offering your insight. Vinoo, you're sticking with us after the break. We will take a break now. When we come back, we're waiting for them to reconvene in D.C. When they do, we'll get you in there live. Stay with us.